Hi, I'm Andrew Cain, State Politics Editor at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and with me is my colleague, politics columnist Jeff Schapiro. We're here to talk about the big news of the day in state politics. Attorney General Jason Miyares announced that he is going to seek re-election next year instead of running for governor. So, Jeff, what are some of the big ramifications of this?
Well, there are at least two immediate ramifications. It would appear that Winsome Earl Sears, the lieutenant governor, is now unopposed for the Republican nomination for governor in 2025. Of course, the putative Democratic nominee for governor in 2025 is Abigail Spanberger. So if they are both indeed nominated, as one anticipates that they will, regardless of party, Virginia is likely to elect its first woman as governor. The other factor here is, the other consequence here is that Jason Miyares, in standing for a second term as Attorney General, assuming he's successful, history has shown that multi-term AGs and multi-term lieutenant governors, I'll put it this way, the governorship tends to elude them.
Yeah, we've found, those of us who have been doing this for a while have found that often he who hesitates is lost. And we go back to even Mary Sue Terry, the Attorney General, who was elected twice, then lost for governor to George Allen. Don Beyer, current congressman, was elected lieutenant governor twice, lost to Jim Gilmore in 1997. And even more recently than that, Bill Bolling was elected twice as lieutenant governor and lost his chance to be governor.
Was outmaneuvered for the Republican gubernatorial nomination by Ken Cuccinelli, because of a change in the rules. But this is sort of a reminder that in Virginia, even in robust suburban-dominated Virginia, a state in which the majority of people who live here are from elsewhere, that with this only in Virginia rule of a single non-renewable term for a governor, people think in 4-year increments. If you don't move up, you get moved out.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about the prospects of somebody else coming in. Now, we remember that when Governor Youngkin was nominated 4 years ago in 2021, he outlasted 6 other candidates, but that was a different situation. That was a convention.
There was a convention. There was ranked choice voting. It was in the middle of the pandemic. There were 7 candidates. Glenn Youngkin was pretty much everyone's second choice. So there was a very good chance that he was going to win that nomination for a number of reasons, one of which was he was a fresh face. He didn't have a record. That meant he was going to be more difficult to attack. And of course, his seemingly bottomless bank account as a multi-millionaire financier, he was in a position to underwrite his candidacy fully, and he did.
And this is a different contest in a number of ways. There's now a presumption in state law that the parties are going to pick their nominees in primaries that give the greatest number of voters the chance to participate. And statewide primaries in June are a different animal than a convention because they're decided upon by as many voters as want to participate. And that means that statewide primaries would require expensive advertising campaigns.
Well, the difference between a primary and a convention is that a convention is really a members-only affair. It's strictly insider-oriented. A primary in a state like Virginia, which doesn't have party registrations, it's you all come. And if there's simultaneous primaries on June, I'm not sure the date, people would enter the polling places, select a ballot, Republican or Democratic, and vote as they please. I would think that, with greater competition for some of these nominations, that will generate, greater interest. But at this point, it appears that the gubernatorial candidates are going to be unopposed for their respective party nominations. There seems to be something approaching a field emerging on the Republican side for lieutenant governor. There are, 5 candidates now for the Democratic lieutenant governor's nomination. and 2 who would like to take on Jason Miyares for an Attorney General. So it's a somewhat uneven array of choices for voters. And because the competition will be down ticket, that may diminish turnout in June for a primary.
So far, the Democratic candidates for Attorney General are former Delegate Jay Jones, who sought the nomination 4 years ago against incumbent Mark Herring, after Herring decided not to run for governor, and the Henrico County Commonwealth's Attorney Shannon Taylor. And so that primary contest is likely to be robust, and we'll have to see what comes there.
And Jason Miyares, I think, has been sort of tipping his hand in this direction for some time. He kept saying, "Wait until after the election. You'll hear from me soon enough." He was not at all critical of that early announcement by Winsome Earl Sears for the Republican gubernatorial.
He said it was premature.
Well, but I mean, he didn't attack her. He just suggested that maybe it was something that the Republicans should focus on after the presidential election. And I think he was sort of echoed by the governor, Republican Glenn Youngkin, on that as well. But last week, when Jay Jones formally announced for his second go for Attorney General, in a second, Miyares was online attacking Jones and Shannon Taylor, the Henrico prosecutor, as dangerous liberals who were hostile to the police and were soft on law and order. So clearly an indication that he was leaning in that direction.
Yeah, we wondered if that was a tell. Speaking of the presidential election, of course, next year's contest won't come in a vacuum. This will come in the first year of President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. And we know from last time around, his first term in the White House, Democrats made gains in statewide offices, the congressional delegation, and in the General Assembly. So we also have, of course, the Virginia curse, and you can briefly explain what that means.
Well, since 1976, in Virginia, the pattern has been that the party that wins the White House loses the governorship the following year. And this pattern has remained in place since then, with only one disruption, and that was in 2013 when Terry McAuliffe was narrowly elected by plurality governor in a 3-candidate race a year after Barack Obama was returned to the White House by a substantially reduced majority from his first go for the presidency.
So we're likely to see some aspect of the vote as a referendum on the president-elect's first year in office. So I want to thank my colleague, Jeff Schapiro, for joining me, and we invite all of you to continue to follow our coverage on richmond.com and in the Richmond Times-Dispatch.